Listen, when it comes to building in Terraria, each biome has its own challenges. If you're going to build in the ocean, well, you're going to be underwater, so get your sponge. When it comes to the desert, well, the color palette just simply isn't my favorite. For the forest, well, it just feels generic.
Boring!
But in my opinion, the hardest place to build, come here, it's got to be the Aether. Hey Terraria fans, welcome back to another speed build video. Guys, in this one, I'm going to be making a proper base in the Aether biome, which I've actually never done before. Also, I haven't seen too many builds that are in the Aether biome that really caught my attention, so I'm hoping this one does a pretty good job. Now, I myself am no expert when it comes to building in the Aether biome. I've actually only ever made one build, and that was this kind of Aether tree, and while it was good, this is a bit of a different challenge. Now, you might be wondering what inspired me to actually go ahead and make this, and it's actually from someone who left a comment saying, Aether base. That's it. So naturally, I took up the challenge and tried to make something a little bit interesting, but I'll let you be the judge. And of course, speaking of judging things, guys, if you want to judge me when I'm making any of these builds, you can actually do so live on Twitch. The link is down below. Additionally, if you're enjoying any of the content here on the channel, feel free to hit the like, the subscribe, or the little dinner bell thingy so you can know when the next video hits the old YouTube universe. Also because it's free and it super helps out the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. All right, so pleading for your love aside, guys, let's get to this build, shall we? All right, guys, so with our Aether biome base done, I'm going to go ahead and quickly run through all of the materials like I promised at the beginning of this video. Now, as always, I do encourage you to pause the video here because there's a lot going on, especially in the wall department, and I will cover that, but just pause the video here if you want to take a closer look should you choose to make something similar. Right, so when it comes to the blocks, nothing too special. We use some crimstone brick, some stone slab, some palladium, and some shingles. Of course, we went with the blue dynasty shingles, but you could use red. It doesn't really make a difference. We also did use some iron brick, which I don't traditionally use, but I thought went really well in this build. We also used some ebon stone and some stone accent slab, as well as some mudstone and some ebon wood. So a good mix of different sort of textures and I guess variety of blocks that really lend themselves to providing a good bit of texture and depth to the build. Now, when it comes to the walls, guys, we do have a lot going on, but it's not as bad as it seems. So we did use some green brick wall and some pink tiled wall. Again, I don't use these that often, and I think particularly the pink tile wall is one I need to use a little bit more often. So if you haven't used this one before, I do encourage you to try this block out. It's just a nice looking wall tile, and I just think it looks kind of interesting. Where the variety in the blocks gets a little bit more clear is when we start talking about our Ethereum brick wall, our Squiggles wallpaper, and our Heaven Forge brick wall. These are all ones that I don't really use that often. I'm actually planning on making a video around how to get all of these walls because I don't think I've seen someone cover that yet. It's nice to have new building materials, and I think you guys may appreciate that. We also use some meteorite brick wall as well as some shadewood wall. So again, a big variety in terms of what you're seeing in the build. And hopefully none of these are standing out too aggressively. The idea here was to try to make all this look somewhat blended. So hopefully we did a good job. And of course, to do all of that blending, you're going to need some paint. Now, in my case, I went with some brown paint, some shadow paint, some aluminum coating because we're underground and you want to be able to see things. I also have some gray, deep red, pink paint, and some teal paint. But the one that actually is probably the most interesting here is going to be our negative paint. And where we use that, you should be able to, well, hopefully tell fairly readily. It gives it a nice kind of punch of color, and you can kind of really see that coming through in those kind of window designs. I really do like the way it looks, and I think it's a paint that I need to play with a little bit more because negative paint obviously creates a negative of whatever you're using, but has some really cool applications for certain walls and certain blocks. So definitely play around with that one a little bit more if you haven't. But yeah, you will like this one in certain builds, particularly in maybe a darker aesthetic build like something like we made today. And yeah, that's pretty much all of the materials that I use. So hopefully this gives you a bit more insight into how I put this thing together. Of course, guys, feel free to ask any questions down below in the comments if you are, well, wanting to know why or where I use something, because I'm more than happy to give a little bit more detail. And with that said, guys, let's crack on with the rest of the video. All right, guys, so there you go. There is our Aether base done. Now, as I said at the beginning of the video, there are a few challenges around the Aether biome. The first one, of course, is that, well, everything's got that shade of purple, and while that's fairly unique, it kind of limits a little bit of the color palette that you can use. The second thing is that because you're underground, the builds are very dark, so you will notice that I used a lot of aluminum coating across this entire build so that you guys could actually see it. So it is an extra step, and while it's maybe not the most annoying thing, it is going to limit your ability to use certain colors, particularly the darker ones. But all that said, I am actually really happy with the final product. I really do like the way some of the features are a little bit on the 3D side. There's a rounded roof at the top. There's some cool elements underneath in terms of the actual structure, and just overall has a really nice feel. But I do have a standout feature, and you can probably guess what it is because it's probably the same thing that your eye is immediately drawn to, and that's got to be those funky windows at the top. Now, if memory serves, these windows are actually made from the Aether brick wall with negative paint, and they just have this really funky color, and I just love the way they look. But maybe they're a little too eye-catching. I don't know. You guys let me know in the comments below what you think of the windows and the build more generally. What did you like, and maybe what you might want to change or see in a future build or version of this, because I am open to all suggestions. But with that said, our second Aether biome build is done. Guys, I hope you do enjoy this one as much as I did. Again, there's some complexity here for sure, but hopefully this inspires you to try a build in the Aether biome in the future. But yeah, that's basically it. So thank you so much for watching until the end of this video, guys. And as always, thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. We will see you in the next one.